Hi, my wonderful crochet friends. My name is Ashley, and today's tutorial is going to be a miniature version of the falling leaves wreath. So I don't know if you've gotten a chance to check out the video on my channel for the falling leaves wreath. It is made with puff stitches. It's very, very pretty and fairly simple to make. And the video on my channel right now is the large version that you can hang on your door, or you can hang on a tree, or you can use on your table as a centerpiece. So I was thinking about doing a miniature version and using this really pretty green yarns and making an ornament. So I'm glad you all are here with me today. So this yarn here, this yarn is actually from Dollar Tree, and it is called Princess Yarn. So it's this is the Crafter's Choice yarn, and it is called Princess Yarn. So it is a very nice thinner yarn, very pretty. And I have two different colors. So this nice pretty green and a nice darker green. So I was thinking of using both strands in making this ornament. And so the hook size we will be using for this yarn, and this is considered very fine yarn, almost as small as crochet thread. But doubled up, it should be equivalent to a number 2 yarn. And the hook size I will use is a 3.125 millimeter crochet hook, or you can use a 3 or a 3.5, whichever is best for you. And of course, we will need our scissors, and possibly we may need a yarn needle just to weave in our ends. It might not be necessary, but just in case, I'll have that on hand. And so just grab your yarn and your hook, yarn needle, and scissors, and meet me back, and we'll begin. So what I am going to do is I am going to roll both these strands into a yarn ball. So I started off just by wrapping this around my finger, and then after I got a nice big bunch, I placed my thumb inside, and now I am just going to wrap it. And then once I got a good amount wrapped right here, I'm going to twist and then begin wrapping again at the same angle. And then I'll pull some more. And this is how I make my really nice yarn balls with a center hole in the middle. So then I'll just twist over a little bit and then continue wrapping. And turn it a little, and then I'll wrap it some more. Turn a little and wrap some more. Isn't that pretty together? I think with the two different colors we'll create like a really nice dimension and texture in the wreath. So I think this will be very pretty and perfect for a wreath ornament for your Christmas tree. Or you can make a garland. Like, wouldn't that be cute to have little miniature wreaths just lined up as a garland? I think that would be very beautiful. And I definitely want to make sure that I have enough. I don't want to run out. So I'm going to create a nice little yarn ball for myself. And remember, you can pick this yarn up at Dollar Tree. That is where I got mine. I picked mine up in person. It's so pretty. Like, look how pretty this yarn is, and it's so soft. This is beautiful yarn, and it is great for the price. So for a whole ball, it's $1.25. So I paid $1.25 for both. Very pretty, very, very pretty. So I think I'm going to roll up just a little bit more. I definitely want to make sure I have enough because I am going to be making puff stitches, and puff stitches are a little bit of a yarn eater. Okay, guys, I think I should have about enough for a wreath or two. I didn't want to have to deal with unraveling these as I crochet. That would definitely be a pain. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the yarn and we can begin. So now I have a nice little yarn ball with a hole in the center, which also this method is really, really great for, you may have seen them before. You can get them at like Michael's and Joann's online, but those, they kind of look like a stand with a pole, and you can stick your yarn balls right in there and then pull and it'll unravel. So that's also a really neat trick to make these at home for yourself. So to begin, we will be making a slip knot. And I am using the 3.125 millimeter crochet hook. So for this project, we will be chaining 33. So I have 33 chains. So what we will do now is we will follow along our chains until the very last chain. So we will reposition our hand and I will insert into the back loops of that chain. I will grab the working yarn here. Now we'll grab the end of that chain. I will yarn over and pull through and then make a slip stitch. And this creates a ring. So for row 1, we will chain 2. In the same chain, we will make our first puff stitch. And to do this, we will yarn over, wrapping the yarn around our hook. We are going to go into that same chain. We are going to go up, yarn over, and we are going to pull this up. We're going to stretch this up. And we are going to do this 2 more times. We will yarn over, and we are going to pull through all those loops to create a puff stitch. We will now chain 2, and we will make another puff stitch just like this one in that same chain. So we will yarn over and go into that same chain and pull up a loop, stretch it up really high, yarn over, go back into that same chain, repeat that 1 more time, yarn over, insert into the same chain, and repeat 1 more time. We will yarn over and pull through all the loops on our hook. So now we have a V-stitch puff. In the next chain, we will make 1 half double crochet. So we will yarn over, we will go into that same chain, and I am just going to go into the back loops of that chain and yarn over and pull up a loop, and I have 3 loops on my hook. We'll yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. In the very next chain, we will repeat the 1 half double crochet. I'm going to go into the back loops, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. In the next chain, I will repeat this puff stitch. So I will yarn over and go into the back loops of that next chain and create a puff. Yarn over and pull through all loops. Chain 2 and repeat another puff. Yarn over, pull through all the loops on my hook. In the next chain, I will make 1 half double crochet. Next chain, 1 half double crochet. And I wanted to give you all a nice little look at this. So here's our V-stitch puffs. 2 half double crochets in between each V-stitch puff. We will repeat this all the way around. So we completed our 2 half double crochets here. So on the next chain will be another V-stitch puff, just like this one. Go ahead and repeat this pattern all the way around until the end, and I will meet you back there. Once you're finished, you should have something that looks similar to this. It looks a little roughly, but as our rows go on, it will even out. So our puff stitches look great. They're popping out the back, so all we have to do is just pop them out to the front. So easy. So we just pop these out, and then once we finish popping these out, we will slip stitch join and then begin row 2. So I just finished my last puff and I popped all my puffs out. I need to make one more half double crochet in that very last chain. Trying to get under both those strands of that princess yarn. And now it is time to slip stitch join. So I am going to slip stitch join in the second chain here. I will chain 2 for row 2. So in our first puff here, we are going to make one front post half double crochet around that very first puff. So I'm going to yarn over. I'm going to go in before the puff. I'm going to go around that puff stitch. I'm going to yarn over just like a half double crochet, and I have my 3 loops. So I'm going to yarn over and pull through all of those 3 loops for a front post half double crochet. And this right here will push our puff stitch forward. So in that same chain, you'll see that little space there from that front post half double crochet. I'm going to go right in there and make another half double crochet. So we are fundamentally repeating row 1 just in a slightly different way. So now we have our chain 2 space. So in our chain 2 space, we will repeat that puff stitch, chain 2, puff stitch. So I will go right into that chain 2 space, yarn over, pull it up as high as I can, and repeat that 2 more times. And give it a nice good stretch. I'm going to pinch that puff, yarn over, and pull through all of those loops. I will chain 2. In that same chain 2 space, I will make another puff. Give it a nice good stretch, pinch that, yarn over, and pull through all the loops on my hook. So what we will do now is the next puff from row 1. We are now going to go into the chain of that puff, So I'm going to yarn over. I'm going to go into the chain of that puff and just make 1/2 double crochet. And now it is time to make another front post half double crochet around this next puff here. So that second puff from row 1, I'm going to yarn over. I'm going to go in that chain 2 space and from behind that puff and come out the other side. I will yarn over for a half double crochet, pull that through. I have my 3 loops on my hook. I will yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. So we are stacking the puff stitches, the V-stitch puff stitches on top of another. So what we will do now is we will skip these 2 half double crochets from row 1. We will go right into the next puff stitch, and we are going to make another front post half double crochet. So I will yarn over. I'm going to go in right before that puff and from behind it and out the chain 2 space, yarn over, pull through, and then yarn over to complete that half double crochet. And there again, you'll see it causes this puff stitch to pop out. In that same space as before, we will yarn over, go into the space of that front post half double crochet and just make 1 half double crochet. And now we're at our chain 2 space. So this chain 2 space, we will do the same thing. We will repeat our V-stitch puff. Stretch it up good and high, pinch it, yarn over, pull through all the loops on your hook. Chain 2, and in that same space, make another puff. Stretch it, pinch, yarn over, pull through all the loops on your hook. And now it is time to go to this bottom puff stitch here right below, and we are going to go into the chain of that puff stitch. So right here we'll go in and we will create 1 half double crochet. And now we will make our front post half double crochet. Yarn over, go into that chain 2 space and go behind that puff stitch and out the other side. Yarn over, pull that through. We have our 3 loops on our hook. Yarn over, pull through all 3. And there we go. This is our repeat pattern. We will skip those 2 half double crochets and go directly to the next puff stitch. Yarn over, go in right before that puff stitch and out through the chain 2 space. Yarn over, pull that yarn through and create that front post half double crochet. In that space from that front post half double crochet, go right into that and make another half double crochet. Now it is time to make our V-stitch puff stitches. We'll go into that chain 2 space and create our puff stitch. Stretch it nice and high, pinch, yarn over, pull through all the loops on your hook. Chain 2 and repeat. Stretch it up high, pinch, yarn over, pull through all the loops on your hook. And go right below to that next puff stitch. Now we will make a half double crochet in the chain of that puff stitch. And now we will make our front post half double crochet. Go into that chain 2 space, go all the way around that puff stitch and out the other side, yarn over, pull that through and up, and create that front post half double crochet. So we will repeat this all the way around, and I wanted to give you all a better look. So if you look closely, the puff stitches from row 1 are popping out very nicely. And once we create the 3rd row, it will do the same thing to the puff stitches right here on row 2. Isn't that pretty? And once it's finished, it will be all evened out. It won't be ruffly at all. So you can kind of just picture how pretty this really is going to be. And it'll be perfect size for an ornament. So continue to repeat this in each puff stitch all the way around, and I will meet you back at the end. So now we are at the end of row 2, and this is what your wreath should look like. It looks great, doesn't it? So now what I'm going to do is I am going to slip stitch into that top chain just like before for our slip stitch join. And we can either chain 2 and repeat what we've done before, or we can go into the next chain and slip stitch over, slip stitch over, and then chain 2. And we will repeat what we did before. So we will yarn over, and this is row 3. We will make a front post half double crochet around that first puff stitch, just like before. We will go into that same chain of that puff stitch and make another half double crochet. In our chain 2 space, we will repeat, making another puff stitch. We will stretch it up real high, pinch that, and instead of pulling through all the loops on my hook, I will pull through only the puff stitch loops. So I will not pull through this loop right here. So I will yarn over, pull through all the loops but that one, and now I have 2 loops on my hook. I will yarn over and pull through both of those loops, and since this is my last row, I will just chain 1, and I will repeat the puff stitch I just made. So in that same space, yarn over, go into that chain 2 space, create that puff stitch, I will pull through all the loops but that one first loop, So I will pinch and pull through all the loops but the one. And now it is time to go over here to the puff stitch right below. I'm going to go into that puff stitch with a half double crochet, just like before. I'm going to pull through all 4 loops on my hook. Now I am going to go in and make a front post half double crochet around that same puff stitch just like before. And that is how I will finish off row 3. And look at that. Isn't that pretty? So tightening that up a little bit really causes that puff stitch to pop out. Isn't that nice? So we will repeat what we just did in each puff stitch. So this next puff stitch, I will yarn over and go in right before that puff stitch and behind that puff stitch and out that chain 2 space for a front post half double crochet. I will make a regular half double crochet going into that same space that I created with that front post half double crochet. And in that chain 2 space, I will make another puff stitch just like the first one. I will pull that good and tight and pinch, but I will go through all the loops but the one. So yarn over, pull through all the loops, leaving that 1 loop on my hook. I have 2 loops on my hook now. Yarn over and pull through both of those loops. Chain 1 and repeat. Stretch it good and tight, pinch, yarn over, pull through all the loops on my hook but one. I have 2 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through both of those loops. This puff stitch from below, I will yarn over and go into that chain and make 1 half double crochet, just like before. Now it is time to make our front post half double crochet. Go into that chain 2 space and go behind that puff stitch and out the other side. Yarn over, pull through. I have 3 loops on my hook. Pull through all 3 loops for a front post half double crochet. And look at that. Didn't that come together so nicely? Like, look how pretty that is. So just imagine this on each puff stitch. Like, look how pretty. That is going to be a beautiful, most perfect puff stitch wreath. So we will repeat this in each chain 2, each puff stitch and chain 2 in each puff stitch, all the way around until the very end. And then we were almost finished. All right, everyone, so we are at the end of our 3rd row, and look how beautiful and amazing this looks. Just imagine how beautiful that will look on your Christmas tree. It looks even better in person. And I wanted to give you all a look at how big this really is. So this is, let's see, exactly 4 inches. Perfect, right? So look at that. It fits right in the palm of your hand. Perfect size for an ornament. It is so beautiful. And I don't know about you all, but I am loving the two-tone greens that I have going on here. Like, look at that. Look at those puff stitches. Like, this looks so perfect and so beautiful. And I'm sure yours looks even more beautiful. Look at that. I absolutely love it. So let's slip stitch join this together. Oops. Oops. There we go. So now we just need a slip stitch join. So I'm just going to go for, I'm not going to slip stitch into that chain two. I'm actually just going to go for that first half double crochet chain there. If I can get that in there. There we go. And I'm just going to slip stitch join and tighten that down. Look at that. Look how beautiful. All right, so now we can either make a small, so we can either just stretch this out and use this to hang on the tree, or we can actually make a chain. So you can make a small chain if you'd like. So that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, see 10. And if you bring that down, that'll be a nice small little loop for you to put your hook onto. You can do it that way, or you can make it much bigger for a much larger loop. So I'm just going to go into that same chain there and then slip stitch that down. And what I'll do is I will clip this right here, clip that down. We can just pull that straight out and tighten that down. And all of this in the back, I kind of got a little bit of a gap going on, which is fine. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use a smaller hook and I'm just going to fill this gap in. So I'm just going to go into some of these threads here and yarn over and pull that through. And then I will just go over here, pull that through. And just do it that way. That way that closes that up much tighter. And look at that. Look how perfect that looks. So I'm just going to go on the opposite side one more time. And I'm going in through the back here. I'm just going to yarn over again and pull that through. And just pull that all real tight. Look at that. Now it's time to weave in our ends. And we can do that just by going along like those chain two half double crochets. That's my plan. So I'm just going to go in through those threads and just weave it in and out. So this is, I see my chain two right there. And I'm just going to try to weave those down along these chain twos here. And try to hide this yarn tail the best I can. And after weaving it in and out, this should be a secure enough for this yarn tail. so it doesn't come undone. But isn't this beautiful? And you can decorate this. You can decorate this with beads. You can always get some red yarn and make little holly berries if you want, and maybe some little leaves. Like, how beautiful would that be? Like, look at that. I love this. Look how beautiful. Oh, and at the bottom here, so let's go ahead and clip this and weave in our bottom. So our bottom where we began, we can make a tighter join if we want. So it's over here. So I'm just going to weave it in on the opposite side here. So I'm just going to go in through these threads. I'm going to do the same thing that I just did. I'm just going to take it, tighten it down, and go on the other side and just bring it over back and forth for a nice join here. And if you want, you can go up along those chain twos as well to kind of hide it going up this way. So you don't have like a little short yarn tail right there. And I'm just going to hide it going up through these chain twos here. And that is good. It is perfect, and it's ready to hang on our tree. Look at that. These puff stitches, you can just push them out a little bit more. It's perfect. You can make your mom one. You can make your brother, your sister, your aunt, your grandma. Look at that. Love it. I love the textures. I love the puff stitches. It even somewhat looks real, right? With the two-tone greens. I love it. I'm really glad you all got to join me today for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you all again soon with a lot more crochet designs and free patterns. Thank you all. Bye-bye.